Dinner, I'm making just a little ground turkey meat here. I've got the ground meat and I've browned it, and to it I'm adding some of the Trader Joe's salsa verde, and I will add, let me just turn it up a bit, I will add some cumin seeds. Ground is that, and actually it's coming out slowly, so let me just shake a little out. I like the flavor of cumin. And to that I'm going to add cilantro. That's enough. Mix it up a little bit, and what we're going to do with this is just put it over the Trader Joe's. I'll show you the chips. They are the salt-free, unsalted, organic white corn chips. So we layer these at the bottom of the bowl and put the meat on top with a little cheese and then lettuce. And we don't use tomatoes too much, especially since the other dish I'm making, the mushroom stock dish, that dish that takes a little longer to make, we will be eating that this week, and it will have a tomato sauce in it, so we won't have tomato sauce but once this week. We really try not to have it at all. So I'm going to just let this simmer on low, get a little flavor, possibly add a little water to it. And instead of having tacos, we'll just have a salad. It'll be essentially a salad. Like I said, the chips, the meat, cheese, lettuce, and avocado on it. And if we want, we could add a little more of the salsa verde sauce. And I use this pan that pot I've had for a long time, because I find it's the best pot for breaking up the meat and browning it. And I don't have to worry so much about splatter on the stove because it's deep enough. And I've only used about a pound of meat. So it's easy to clean up, this pot is, and it cooks really fast. The heat goes, it's a little thick on the bottom, but the heat does travel well through it. So my husband likes the meat really finely grounded, and I have trouble doing that sometimes. I get tired of doing it. I don't mind my meat chunky, but he likes his finely chopped, so I've tried to do that. So that's basically it. Everybody can make their bowl, and as long as the base is here. So that's a real simple meal for tonight, since I am starting the first part of my dish for later on this week. As you know, I'm doing the mushroom stock tonight, and tomorrow I will do another step of the dinner. But that's it for tonight. That's what I'm making, at least. Alrighty. Alright, I have chopped and peeled all of the vegetables I need for the stock. Again, this is the mushroom stock, and I have about 3 pounds of mushrooms, about 18 cloves of garlic, a ½ pound of diced carrots, about, I don't know how many celeries. I guess I used about a ½ pound of celery and a 1 pound of onions. So that's what I have there, and I need 1 cup of extra virgin olive oil. So we're going to put that into the pot. Let's measure that out. I'll move you over. Here in my Circulon Symmetry pot, I think it holds about, let's see, 8 quarts, and you need a big pot like this. So, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of water and a lot of vegetables. But first of all, let's put in that, let's turn it on first. Medium. And I'm going to pour 1 cup of extra virgin olive oil into the pot. got that. There that is, and it's going to warm. I want to burn it. And in that olive oil, we're going to, once it's warm, add our onions, add our celery, carrots, and garlic, and we're going to saute those just until they're tender. And then we're going to work in batches and add the mushrooms until they're seared a little. And then once they're seared, we'll add water and a bay leaf, and we'll bring it to a boil. And then I'll reduce the heat and simmer it for 30 minutes. So I'm going to line up everything. And wait for that olive oil to come to a nice simmer. In the meantime, I am going to be trying to clean off some of the rust from my copper pieces that I hang on my kitchen wall. I've already started with this one here. It was black in this area. I am going to apply a little more of the Barkeeper's Friend to it and to this fish. And take a sponge that's damp and scrub them a little more to give them a shine and make them look more presentable on the wall. And I also need to find my picture hanging kit, because I want to put the correct hooks on the wall to hold these instead of just nails. Don't like the way that looks. And there, we're looking much better already. I'm going to rinse it so you can see it. And there we are. Most of that black stain is gone from there. A little bit there. Let's see if I can get some of that off. It's been a while since I've done this, so, and a while, I mean years, so it's looking much better. I'm rinsing it again. I think it looks good. I'm happy. I'll set that one down and I'll get busy on the small fish. I know I have a larger fish somewhere, maybe in the kitchen here. So I am just going to scrub this little fishy. And I'm cheating since it's been so long since I've done this. I'm taking the scrubbing end of this sponge to help get rid of the stains. I've always loved copper in the kitchen. Copper pots, copper decor. I just think it makes a nice old world looking kitchen. And if I had thought about it, I would have run a toothbrush down to help me get in the scales of the fish. But he's looking better. This fish I purchased, but the other fish I have, and I don't see him in the kitchen right now. I don't think I have him up. I have a smaller fish, or I have this fish above here where I'm working. I'll show you later. I'll bring that one down. It needs cleaning. And I have one other fish here, but I have a much larger fish. One that I actually baked in. I made a mousse in. The salmon mousse, which turned out to be really good. But basically I use these for decoration. Let me rinse it and see what it's looking like. Looking much better. Has a nice shine to him. But he still has a little coating on him that I'd like to get off. I'll take down the other fish so you can see him. And he's hung on a hook. So this is another fish I have. And then I have one other fish over here. that I'm going to clean. And the rest of the pieces are looking pretty good as I look around my kitchen. I have a sun that's up higher that I need to clean. But for now, I'm going to work on these, and I'll come back in and show you when I'm done. Okay, so we've got the olive oil, and it's beginning to simmer a little, so we're going to add our onions. Every bit of them. Our celery. Our carrots. And I'm going to give it a stir before I put in the garlic. Just kind of like to do that. So let's give that a little turn around. Can you see that in there? So yeah, there we are. Get everything coated with the olive oil. Turn that back up a little. And now I'm going to add the garlic. But I think I'm just going to, no, I'm going to give them a little bit of a squish. Okay, so I took the back end of the knife and kind of pounded them some so they could split open, and now I'm adding the garlic. Now I'm going to let these vegetables simmer a little to get to soften before we go on to our next step. This is where all of your flavor is going to emerge into the final dish. You have to have a good base, and that's what we're starting with, a good base. So our vegetables are really simmering, and they have softened. So now it is time to add the water. No, not yet. Let's add the mushrooms. That's what it calls for next. Let's add the mushrooms. So we have 3 pounds of mushrooms, and we're to add the mushrooms gradually. So I'm going to start with this smaller batch that's here. Just add some here. Half of that. Give it a good stir, because as you know, these mushrooms are going to wilt down to nothing. They're going to be pretty small. We can add more. Give them a stir. As soon as they hit that heat, they start to shrink up, and you get a lot of liquid out of them. So these are just white button mushrooms. This is going to make a delicious mushroom stock. And let's move on to our other batch of mushrooms. This may be messy here, but there are a lot. So let's just, I figured as much. Let's stop. Gather up the loose ones. The ones that got away. Only 2, that's not so bad. And you'll notice that I have all of the mushrooms here. I've rinsed them really well, chopped them up a little, just roughly, coarsely chopped them. We have all of the mushroom, the stems and the mushroom cap itself. And remember, you're not going to eat the mushrooms. This is just the broth, making the broth. So these are just going to be used to give the flavor to the broth. And this is why you need a large pot. And I love my wooden spoons. These are like, I forget really what they're called, but they are not old, or they're not the original. These were spoons that they're replicas of spoons that they used to use long ago to stir oatmeal and things like that. I believe in Ireland or somewhere like that. But you can do a lot with these spoons, and I like them because they reach the bottom of the pan, and you can turn things over quite well. And I think I have about 3 in the set. That's looking good. It has got to reduce more because I won't be able to get all this water in here if it doesn't. And this is the last bit of the mushrooms. That's it. So these have to sear, and by that means just get coated and cooked down some before we add the water, because there's no way the water could fit in here until everything is reduced some. So I'm going to leave it alone. Throw that onion back in there. And when I come back, I'll just add the bay leaf and the water. Okay, so I've got the fish back up. He's looking better. And the fish and that little square one back up. Little shine to them. And the last one I cleaned is this fish here. Excuse the dishes over there. I am in the midst of cooking, but I wanted to just clean those. You know how sometimes you see some and you can't take it anymore, so you attack it. So that's what I've done with those 4 copper pieces. They look much better. Can you see how the mushrooms, the carrots, and the onions and the celery have produced this liquid here? I have not added any water as of yet, and I already have all of that nice liquid there. So Jose Andre says that a flavorful cooking liquid is key to excellent paella, and I couldn't agree with him more. So it's worth taking the time to make this mushroom stock from scratch. It really brings in the flavor for the final dish. So now I'm going to add the water. And we need 1.5 gallons of water. I hope my pot will hold all of that, because there's so much water that we've got already. Yeah, there we go. That's about 1 gallon. So I'll add, as it cooks down, I'll add the other 1/2 gallon. And I found the largest bay leaf I have, and I will add that right there. So there you have it. This is going to come to a boil, and then I'm going to reduce the heat. So let me turn it up a little. I'll reduce the heat and let it simmer for 30 minutes. But doesn't that look delicious? This is going to give the paella such a nice richness. I mean, you don't want to buy your broth. You really want, or stock, you want to make it yourself. Okay, so when I come back to you, this stock will be done, and we will move on to making, let's see, what are we going to make next? We will make the salsa samora and the alio. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the salsa samora is made with chili peppers and paprika. And it's like a salsa, really is what it is. And it's put into the paella. And the alio is a garlicky mayonnaise. Sometimes I don't make this, but I might make it. And you just use this as a sauce, and it emulsifies and brings out the flavor also. It's basically garlic and lemon and then olive oil. So that's optional in my opinion. But the main things are the salsa, the mushroom stock, to give your paella a good base. Alrighty, we'll see you next time for the rest of this recipe.